Hi, my name is Sorin. I'm a beginner chess player, and in this video I want to show you how I beat a very strong player using Owen defense, b6. So this was an over the board game, and my opponent had more than 400 elo points above me. My rating in this game was 1513, and my opponent's rating is 1923. The name of my opponent is Bogdan, so let's see the game. Okay, my opponent started with d4. Usually b6 is played when white plays e4, but I decided to play this move and see what will happen. The purpose of this move is to develop the light square bishop on the b7 square and control the long diagonal a8 h1. Okay, next I want to play e6 and develop my dark square bishop to b4, attacking the knight that might come to c3. After this I will attack the center using d5 or c5, depending on the situation. Oops, the arrows are not listening to me today. Okay, so d5 or c5. My opponent played c4. I didn't expect this move, but I've continued with my development. I put my bishop to b7, and my opponent played knight c3. That's good. I played d6, and now I want to pin his knight, but unfortunately my opponent stops this idea, so I had to continue with my development, and I played knight f6. Here my opponent pinned my knight. This is a relative pin. My knight can move, but I lose the queen if I do this. So I've unpinned my knight with bishop b7, and next I might castle short. My opponent plays e3, and with this move he wants to develop his light square bishop to d3, looking at my king if I will castle short. And well, with this move, his dark square bishop is outside the pawn chain from f2 to d4. So this dark square bishop is a good bishop. If this bishop would have been on c1, then this bishop would have been bad because he's locked out. His pawn are preventing him to get out. So I've continued with short castle. My opponent played knight f3. And now I need to take a decision and attack the center, and the usual move here is d5. So I played it, and we can say that this is a Queen's Indian defense now, the Petrosian variation with this a3 move inserted. Okay, my opponent played bishop d3, and here I took on c3 because my opponent had to recapture, and I made his bishop to move again. And also taking on c4 made my light square bishop free. Okay, I brought my knight into the center. I'm attacking his bishop, and here I kind of provoke him to exchange it with my bishop. So the next move from my opponent was to take my bishop. I recaptured with my queen, and my opponent played rook c1. Here maybe white should have taken my strong knight from e4 with his knight, but this rook c1 is also a good move. Okay, next I want to continue my development, and the next piece that I'm concentrating is the knight from b8. I wanted to bring it to f6 to protect the other knight, so for this I played knight d7. Here I can also mention that my development is ready. My king is safe, and the rooks are connected, and all the other pieces are developed. My opponent responded with castle. White is almost done with his development. He only needs to move his queen and connect his rook. So black is the first finishing the opening stage. So next is knight d to f6. I'm protecting my strong knight. From e4, my opponent decided to remove it, but I can replace it with my second knight from f6. My opponent plays queen c2, he's looking at my knight, and in some variation he's also looking at my c7 pawn, which is kind of weak. So I've placed my rook on the c file, and maybe in the future I will push c5 and get rid of my backward pawn. The other rook might come to the d file, so my rooks can be centralized. My opponent with this move attacks my knight twice, so I need to do something with it, retreat it or defend it. So I decided to play f5 and defend my knight. White now is attacking my a7 pawn, and this is this can be easily defended with a5. My opponent continues attacking me on the queen side with b4. I took on b4. My opponent recaptured on b4 with his pawn, and now I've made a move and I'm attacking his queen. Maybe I should have played c5 to get rid of my weakness. My opponent put his queen on b3, and he's pinning my pawn, my e6 pawn to my king. Now I decided to overprotect my my e6 pawn. Another plan was to retreat the knight from e4 to d6 and take his knight from f3 with my bishop and double his pawns. But my opponent decided to attack my rook, and here I started to attack his king with g5, and next I would want to play g4 and make his knight to move from this good position. My opponent bring his rook to c7, putting pressure on my backward pawn from c7, and here I decided to take a rook and get off some pressure from c7. Now we can see that I should have played c5 a long time ago to get rid of this weakness. So now I've retreated to d6, and now I want to take his knight and double his pawns, but white decided to put his knight on this strong outpost on e5. I decided to attack his queen moved to c2, and here I decided to exchange rooks. So I wanted to prevent white to infiltrate with his rook on the a file. White took my rook, I recapture with the bishop, and now he attacks my bishop with queen a4. I'm putting my bishop on a protected square. White infiltrates into my position, but my position is stable, everything's protected. Now I want to get rid of his strong knight from e5, and my opponent decided to exchange, so this is good for me. I took with the queen on f7. It seems that white's queen is dangerous, but black is defending everything. Another thing is that the queen by itself is not threatening too much on black's position. Another thing is that this queen is far away from the defense of the king, and we will see next what is the problem with his queen being here. I placed my king on g7. He continued to attack my g5 pawn. I'm defending it with my king, and he plays f4. I'm taking on f4. I want to open some lines towards his king. He takes, and now he has a threat of checkmate on g5, so I need to protect this g5 square, and I can do this easily with h6. He comes into the center with his king. I attack his weakness from d4. He comes to protect it, but he leaves his g2 pawn free, so I'm taking it. So black's a pawn up in this moment. White plays bishop e2. I bring my bishop back since it cannot attack anything on white's camp. It's better to have it protected. Queen e8 check. I'm retreating my king to h7, and now white is playing bishop h5, which is a blunder. Let's see what's the drawback of this move. His king is all alone here, and my queen and bishop are forming a good team. The queen can control the dark squares, and my bishop is controlling the white squares. White might get himself in a mating net very soon, so I played queen g1 check, queen d3, bishop e4 check, king c4, queen c1 check, king b5. It seems that white is trying to escape, to come into black's camp, but as we can see, black is controlling the c6, c5, a5 squares, so black needs to control the f1, a6 diagonal. So the next move from black is pretty simple, is queen f1 check, and with this move we force the king to go to a4, so king a4 and bishop c2, and with this move I'm forcing the white king to go to a3, and in this moment my opponent resigned, because after king a3, queen a1 mate. So this is my game against a very strong opponent, more than 400 points elo above me, and I've used Owen defense. I managed to get a good position out of the opening, and in the end I managed to win. So I hope you learned something from this game, and please watch other games from my channel, and don't forget to subscribe. See you soon. Bye.